Diaphragm. It's right here. Diaphragm separates the thoracic and the abdominal pelvic cavity, or just the abdominal cavity. Yeah. There's the serosa. There is a parietal layer, which is the outermost layer, and there's the visceral layer, which would line the organs. There's the cranial cavity, the thoracic cavity, there's the abdominal pelvic cavity, but up here is just the abdominal, and here's the pelvic cavity. And there's also the spinal cavity, but we don't really worry about that one. Lobes of the liver, there's the, that's his right side. So there's the right lateral lobe, there's the medial lateral, there's the quadrate, there's the left lateral, or left medial, sorry, and there's the left lateral. And then the lobe processes nutrients absorbed from the small intestine. There. Greater omentum covers the intestines, and it protects and also plugs holes that come up in the small intestines, and that prevents infection and stuff like that. The lesser omentum is over like here, kind of on the duodenum, and its job is to connect the intestines and stomach to the liver.
Okay,
You guys want to make a
so this is the stomach, and if you can see here, like in this area here, is the cardiac sphincter where the stomach kind of begins, and then over here where it connects to the duodenum is the pyloric sphincter right here. And the body of the stomach is right here, and the pylorus of the stomach is right here next to the pyloric sphincter, and this area here is the fundus, and this is the greater curvature, and this curve inside is the lesser curvature. And then the large intestine and the small intestine, which are right here. So the small intestine starts off with the duodenum, which comes out from the stomach, and both the stomach and the duodenum function in chemical digestion and breakdown of foods through enzymes and other stuff like that. And then the rest of the small intestine includes the jejunum and the ileum, which function in nutrient absorption, and then finally the large intestine. And then if you kind of set it up like that, then you'll have the ascending colon, the transverse colon, and the descending colon, and then those function in protection with the bacteria and stuff, and water reabsorption.
Okay, so we're back, unfortunately, and under the liver right here, it's non-existent, but there would be a gallbladder there, and the gallbladder stores bile, and that's why it's near the liver, because the liver creates the bile. And then if we head over to the spleen, is right here. The spleen acts as a filter for blood in the immune system and recycles the old red blood cells, and red blood cells are stored here because, you know, conservation. And then if we want to go look back at the stomach, which is kind of hard to see, but it's right. Is there even a stomach? Wow, we love a skinny legend. Okay, so here would be the stomach. And basically in the stomach, chyme is created through chemical digestion, and then it goes into the duodenum and then into the intestines.
Okay, so next to the trachea right here is the esophagus. So the esophagus is a food tract for when a bolus is in here. So then it leads all the way down to the stomach, and then that's where it would churn food and make it into chyme.
Okay, so peristalsis is when the bolus, which is the chewed food, gets pushed down in waves through the digestive tract, through the involuntary constriction and then relaxation of the muscles. So like for example, the esophagus and the large intestine muscles will kind of like constrict and then relax to move the bolus down through the digestive tract until it's time for elimination.
Push it
real good. The trachea is the windpipe. It provides air into the lungs.
Waste is the unnecessary material removed from the body. We don't have a pancreas, but usually it's located underneath, kind of behind the area of the stomach. And what the pancreas does, it secretes insulin into the small intestine.
There's 6 salivary glands located in the mouth region, and they secrete saliva that lubricates food.
The saliva is made up of 99.5% water, includes electrolytes, mucus, antibacterial compounds, and various other enzymes.
The 3 different types of glands are the parotid glands, the sublingual gland, and the submandibular gland. All right, so in here we have this is the kidney, and we have the outer wall, which is the cortex, and then inside is the medulla. And within the medulla is the nephron. The nephron contains the glomerulus. The glomerulus filters blood into the nephron and filters it into filtrate, which is what contains all the toxic particles. And their particles are selectively or completely reabsorbed back into the blood. Hang on, where's the wait? Okay. So, certain things are completely reabsorbed and some are selectively reabsorbed. Water is selectively reabsorbed, and so is salt. Things that are completely reabsorbed is amino acids and glucose. From there it goes to the ureter, which carries the urine to the bladder, which has stretch receptors that let you know when you have to go pee. So it can empty and get rid of all the waste. Here are the testicles, or testes. The testes are responsible for producing sperm and semen. The spermatocord is a cord that supports the testes within the scrotum, and inside the testes is the epididymis, which is a coiled tube that transports sperm from the testes. Urethra is just the tube that carries sperm and urine out the penis.
Okay, so the heart has 4 chambers. First is the right atria, then the right ventricle, then the left atria, and the right ventricle.
So deoxygenated blood comes from the vena cava to the right atrium, and that goes down to the right ventricle. Then it goes from there to the pulmonary artery, which goes to the lungs. Fresh oxygenated blood comes from the lungs through the pulmonary vein, and that goes to the left atrium. That goes down to the left ventricle, which is pumped to the aorta to the rest of the body, where it comes back to the right atrium to the vena cava.
Alright, so the covering of the heart is called the pericardium. The pericardium is a tough double-layered fibrosous sac which covers the heart. Alright, so now to the lobes of the lungs. These help you breathe, obviously. So this is the right cranial lobe, and then this middle area is called the right middle lobe, and then beneath this is the right caudal lobe. Now moving over to the left side, this is the left cranial lobe, and then there is the left caudal lobe over here.
Okay, good. We're good.